Good morning. My name is Roy Martin. I'm chairman of the Board of Regents, and I'm here with my colleagues standing in support of the proposed legislation for the Student Assessment for a Valuable Education, the SAVE credit program. All across the country, funding for higher education has been changing, and we have to change with it. Here in Louisiana, we're still uncertain of the budgetary amount and the outcome for higher education this fiscal year. I'm here to say we believe that the SAVE program is a solution. It's a solution not only addressing the budget shortfall, but a solution which will not impact our students and our families. We agree there's some technical issues with the bill right now. We're working through that. But we're committed to making this a very good piece of legislation. However, this proposed legislation is truly a win-win situation and a scenario for all the students that provide immediate benefits for our institutions. It allows for an enhanced investments in critical areas such as student services and workforce development. So with that, I'd like to turn it over to Commissioner Joe Rollo for a few words as well.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My name is Joe Rollo. I'm the Commissioner of Higher Education. When we first started this budget process several months ago, I used two words. I said we need significant funding and sustainable funding to make sure that our institutions of higher education are held harmless, and this bill does both of those. We also started, when we looked at this bill, to do two other words. One, we said we want it simple, and certainly the methodology is going to be simple, and we wanted no out-of-pocket expenses for our students. So for all those reasons, personally, I think this is one way for us to be able to get that significant funding for our institutions of higher education, to make sure it continues on into the future, to allow our leaders to plan against certainty as opposed to the uncertainty that we've had over the past year. So I'm supportive of it. And Dr. Alexander now has a few points.
I'm also supportive of this because at the beginning we said we need all options on the table facing the largest budget reductions in the history of public higher education facing any state, and we're still staring at those very difficult, detrimental circumstances that we have a couple of days left here to solve. This is an important tool for us to have on the table. It's not new, and I was asked to speak on the fact that since the late 90s, the American Opportunity Tax Credit, formerly known as the HOPE Credit, in Washington, D.C. was approved by President Bill Clinton, signed into law. And to this day, the American Opportunity Tax Credit has been expanded to cost almost $22 billion in federal assistance through the tax credit that flows to nearly 60% of American families each and every April. And that amount is in the amount of $2,500 per family. In fact, we looked at the numbers in Louisiana. What most people don't know is that our parents in Louisiana and our students in Louisiana, 55% of those students are taking the $2,500 American Opportunity Tax Credit that's capped at $180,000 in family income, which really it's a middle-class tax credit that is the second most lucrative and the second largest federal program in the country behind Pell Grants. So we've had great federal practice with this, and in fact our parents and our students have benefited more from this, or almost as much from this as many Pell students receiving Pell Grants. But this is not a new program. This is a program that we've adopted. We've taken a look at the federal program and looking at the fact that it is a very nonpartisan program at the federal level. It's one of the few things that reach complete consensus for the next 5 years in Washington, D.C., which is rare to do. And it has been reauthorized for the next 5 years, and it's called AOTC, and it will probably grow to be the largest federal program in higher education if it continues on this path in the next 5 years. So thank you for your support. We need all options on the table, and we're trying to salvage and save higher education. And we thank our legislative leaders who have stepped to the plate and have gotten us this far in this discussion. Thank you very much.
And really in closing, I'd like to say the SAVE program is a conduit for bringing much needed money to the Board of Regents for distribution to the higher ed. Unfortunately, there really isn't a plan B right now. It's June the 1st. And the legislature has to act and act decisively to save higher education. Our budget cut situation now is a black swan event, I'd say, in business. We cannot survive this. So this SAVE plan is truly what it's named, a SAVE plan. And I encourage our leaders, and I thank the sponsor, Jack Donahue, Senator Jack Donahue, for sponsoring this very important piece of legislation. With that, do I have any other system presidents that would like to say anything?
Well, Sandy Woodley, I still would like to reiterate what Mr. Martin said. It's a conduit for making sure that the funds that the legislature has made available can actually flow to higher education. You know, we are interested in making sure that the $600 million that we're short do flow. We have very impressive, important plans to implement for the good of this state, and we appreciate any tool that's available that will allow money to flow to higher education.
Southern strongly supports this legislation because we need the money.
Well said.
Good morning, Monty Sullivan, President of Community and Technical Colleges in Louisiana. One quick point that I think is so important about Senate Bill 284, we have in this state extraordinary workforce demands. Our economy continues to grow, outpacing the Southern average and the national average. Never before has higher education been more important than today. And so the SAVE program presents an opportunity for the first time in the history of higher education in Louisiana to dedicate funds to funding the institutions that are so critical to producing the workforce. Those dedicated funds are essential at this point in time. At roughly $1 billion budget in higher education, we're talking about roughly $350 million of that being dedicated. I think that's a substantial step forward for higher education in Louisiana. Thank you.
Thank you for coming, and when have you had all 4 system heads agree on something? That's what I want to know. That's the success of this. Thank you very much.
Quite a lot lately.